Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is October 17th, and today's episode is going to talk about a new ETH-only staking landing page. We're going to be talking about GMC Year 3 nominations, NodeSet stuff, and a whole lot more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
So yeah, the ETH-only mini pools is actually happening. Like here on the Rocket Pool website, we have a new landing page for ETH-only. So this is just a temporary page. It's not confirmed, but it says ETH-only mini pools are here. Launch an 8 ETH mini pool using only ETH with no RPL requirement. And then there's some redundancy with like launch buttons and like find out more. So this is still a work in progress. But here we have information. This is on October 14th. The Rocket Pool's protocol downvoted in RPIP 62 and ushering a new era by removing the RPL requirement for node staking. Create mini pools with only 8 ETH of initial capital, 5% base commission on the rewards generated for liquid stakers, extra 5% commission until Saturn 1, up to an additional 4% bonus commission by staking RPL. Do you have questions? So what is Saturn 1? Then there's information about what that is, and why should I node stake now with Saturn 1 coming? And it says, and then it gives an information there as well. So this, like I said, this is still a work in progress. So it's likely that the content here is going to change. Maybe some ideas will change. But what I really like about it is that we can actually point people to a specific place now, and they can go and see that it's legit. And if you click on the launch button, it will take you to the documents. Of course, the documents will need to be updated for people who are staking with ETH only. I don't know if that has been done already or not, but it's looking like everything's coming together, and we're going to be getting launch in 10 days and some hours, which is incredibly exciting. So of course, it's not only on the front end stuff that we need to have changes done, but here Joe was talking about it in trading today, and he was saying, for what it's worth, T-Pan and I talked about this earlier, and he's removing 16 ETH validators and adding some verbiage to getting like your validator set up, basically that yells at you if you aren't in the smoothing pool. So that is something that we were talking about in yesterday's episode, where you have to be in the smoothing pool in order to get your full rewards from ETH-only validators, because 5% will come from the contract and 5% will come from the smoothing pool, with a potential bonus 4% more that will come if you're also staking RPL. So this was actually a really good thing. The fact that the language around 16 ETH is kind of moving away, it makes a lot of sense as well, is because it literally it makes no sense to start a 16 ETH validator after Saturn 0. But even now, if you have the RPL, it literally makes no sense. And the reason for that is because your 16 ETH in 2 LEB8s will be earning you much more rewards than a 16 ETH validator would. So you'll only start it basically if you don't like money, pretty much. And there were some discussions going back and forth about what kind of language you should use in the smart node and what kind of prompts there should be about not if you don't join the smoothing pool. So this is it. This is like the last minute stuff. We're just getting all the documents cleaned up, all the documents written and sorted out. But it looks like everything's pretty much going to be ready to go. Like you all know, there's still some steps that need to happen before we get Saturn 0. Of course, the main one is that the Houston hotfix, which is RPIP 63, is currently waiting for the ODAO to start voting on that. So they have a 7-day period before they can start voting on it. And the purpose of that 7-day period is to make sure that they, can check the code and make sure everything's looking okay. But also for the community, if there was something that was being updated that the community wasn't happy about, then they could use that as a period to exit their validators and leave Rocket Pool, like kind of as an escape hatch. Now, it likely is that vote will reach quorum within a day or two of going live, which I think will be on Sunday night US time or Monday morning Australian time. Once that vote passes, at that point, once it reaches quorum, at that point it can be executed whenever we want. However, there's a couple of things that the team doesn't want to do. So they don't want to execute it before the rewards period, because that's just going to cause confusion with people who might start validators before the rewards period and then they're not happy with their rewards, which of course makes sense. Of course, tree rewards tree version 10 still hasn't been, deployed or even created yet, as far as I know, tested or anything like that. So the first thing is that they're going to wait until the rewards period finishes, which is on Wednesday. And then the thing is, I don't think, well, we know that the team don't want to deploy right before the weekend, so that's why we're waiting until the 27th. So, even though the rewards period is on the 24th, like a few members in the community, myself, Hulul, and others, we were estimating that, the ETH-only validators would start on the 24th, pretty much right after the rewards period ended, or started even, I should say. But then in discussion with Langers and with the team, it seems like they want to go for that Sunday night in the US or Monday morning in Australia launch. So that's what we're looking at right now. It looks like all things are good to go, and it's really exciting. Okay, in other news that's really exciting here, we have GMC Year 3 nominations. So the second round of the GMC will be coming to an end very soon, and the GMC is now working on getting the members ready for the next round for the next year. So Shifrin, who is the GMC admin, he has said this thread serves to collect nominations for the elections of 9 newly appointed GMC members. The new roster will go into effect around November 11th. What GMC members will do, so they'll have thoughtful evaluation of the applications that come in. They'll be involved in collaborative decision making. It's very often the case that one member of the GMC will actually, like I've seen a couple of instances of this where we've had the GMC kind of looking to go one way, and then one member of the GMC kind of arguing against that and just thinking that another path would be the better way to go. And that one person winning out against the 8 others, with being able to convince them of the changes that they think are better. So that's the kind of thing that, those are some of the skills that we really want to see in new GMC members, that ability to work collaboratively, work in good faith, and all that good stuff. So that's really important. And then expert facilitation, negotiate with applicants, assisting in the restructuring of project scopes and establishment of achievable milestones, ensuring projects align with the network's objectives. And then with quality assurance, make sure that, everything is looking good. Active participation, you've got to be there every month. There's a lot of work to be done. There's governance voting, so actively participate in voting process related to internal adjustments, contributing your perspective as the GMC evolves and optimizes itself, and then financial verification as well. So the payments go out once a month and make sure that basically everything is looking good, making sure that everything's going where it's supposed to be going, and then signing those transactions. So those tend to be the main duties of the GMC members. So expected time commitment is around 3 to 4 hours per week, and sometimes it can be 5 hours a week, and sometimes it can be 2 hours a week, but it kind of averages out there, so demand can vary at times. So please only apply if you have the ability for it. So here's what a month might look like. So for an example, rewards period, so from October 7th to November 9th, that's the application deadline when people are writing their rewards in. On October 9th, we would have the town hall. On October 16th, we have the discussion meeting. On Monday, the 21st, we have a Cifrin kickoff call. That's a grant a team that's been given a grant. Then on October 22nd, we have decisions due from the previous grant round. On Wednesday, the 23rd, we have any amendments or any changes that we want to make. And then the vote for that closes on the 25th. On the 26th, the rejection vote ends. That's when you can vote to reject the whole slate. And then on October 27th, the award decision is posted. So the whole process kind of we've got a really nice cadence now that was set up by Shifrin. And everything happens on these 4-week cadences where we've always got applications open, we've always got applications coming in, and we're always kind of making decisions about how we should do it. There's 3 1-hour meetings per month. So those are the town hall, a public-facing meeting. Then there's our discussion meeting that we have to discuss the grants and kind of make sure that, discuss the applications and make sure that kind of the whole GMC is on the right page. And then there's also one meeting that we have every 2 weeks. And then there's a third meeting. I'm not sure what the third meeting is, but that's fine. We also have some extra meetings, like Shifrin says, we have meetings with the team. We have meetings with awardees sometimes to kind of talk through things. But that team meeting is actually every 2 weeks, and that is a really, really cool meeting to be a part of, because you get to find out like things that are happening behind the scenes, and things that the team's not in a position to share with the community for whatever reason. And they're a little bit more open with sharing that information with the GMC, because we kind of work together where we can to address those issues. So that is actually a really cool perk, because you kind of get to see how things are happening behind the scenes. It's really cool. And then then there's like discussions on negotiation, deliberations. Like you get about 3 to 10 applications per month. Of course, the more applications you have, the busier it is. And then discussion and voting on around one process change per month. So on average, we're always trying to tweak things. We're trying to make things a little bit better wherever we can. And those kind of things get talked about quite regularly as well. And then the verifying payment addresses and transactions, it can take up to 30 minutes to 1 hour per month. So all of those can fluctuate. And then Shifting shares his calendar for October, what it looks like. And you can see where all the different meetings are, and all the different events and stuff that are there. With subcommittees, we've kind of divided out the duties, depending on how many applications we get per month, into like development, research, or marketing. And then there's different people who are within like those subcommittees. And we don't always use subcommittees. It just depends on how many applications we get per month. But if you get more applications, then we kind of divide it out. So not everyone has to read every application. And then the compensation. So you will get $390 a month in RPL if you fulfill your basic duties, and that's turning up for meetings, giving your feedback for applications, presenting your scores, and your approval or disapproval, and all that kind of stuff. And then there's activity for the current members. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, so here wow, this is really cool. I haven't seen this in a while, but if you have a look, then by the member and like how many server activities they've had. So Destroyer is 217 messages, which is around 24 messages per month. Adondo has 303 messages. Dr. Doofus has 491 messages. Epinef has 1,374 messages. And then we have Joe, who's not on the GMC anymore. Ken has 265 messages. Looking for Owls has 558 messages. Rocknet has 647 messages. RPL Maxi is 381 messages, and I have 1,482 messages. So I have definitely been like one of the more active members of the GMC. I just love it so much. It's really cool stuff. And then there's a like the process. So this is how it's going to work. This is written in RPIP 10, and anyone can nominate anyone else. They can even nominate themselves if they want. So anyone who's currently a GMC member or previously a GMC member can be nominated again. Anyone can remove themselves for consideration by simply saying so, and there's 5 days of nomination period that's open, and after that there'll be this thread is closed, and the final list will then be generated. So if you are nominated and you don't remove yourself from consideration, you'll have to complete a nominee information sharing section of RPIP 10, so you can be ready to provide your statements. It's also recommended to choose a subcommittee that you're interested in. So this was like a really cool cool post. And then Destroyer was the first person to nominate themselves. Destroyer said, I'd like to nominate myself again for year 3. I filled in for Joe when he stepped down, and I've been enjoying my role. It took some time to learn the ropes, but I feel more comfortable now. I'm ready to be an even better GMC member for the next cycle. And then I made some nominations, said I would like to nominate all the existing members of the GMC, even though very sadly, I know some of them would not be returning this time. So I nominated myself. And then I nominated Ken, Epinef, Dondo, RPL Maxi, Dr. Doofus, Looking for Owls, and Rocknet, and Destroyer had already nominated himself. So that's where we stand right now. There's work involved. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It's one of the things that happens is, if there's a controversial grant, then you might be on the receiving end of community questions, let's just say. Sometimes they can be a little bit pointed. Sometimes they can maybe feel like aggressive in nature, maybe. But almost always, we work together with the community and make sure that we kind of are making good explanations of how it's going. And I'll be honest, like when we first started the GMC, not having an admin meant that the whole of the community kind of needed to step up in some ways, to not the community, the committee, and Shifrin. But after we hired Shifrin has been incredible at the job that he does. So it's made being on the GMC a lot easier, a lot more streamlined. There's always someone there to tell you what's going on, to remind you of things that are happening, and just keep you on top of things. So even if it means that you can get by with bursts of work instead of having to be on top of everything every day, which is amazing. So I love being on the GMC. Like I said, I'm going to run again for year 3. And I was one of the original members from round 1 as well. So it's something that I really love doing and have really enjoyed doing. And I want to keep giving back to the Rocket Pool community through the GMC. So if you would like to run, please, nominate yourself. Or if you don't want to nominate yourself, if you feel kind of embarrassed to do that, you can reach out to me or other community members who will probably happily nominate you if they know who you are. And then you just got to make your case to the community about why you are, worth being on the GMC again. Okay, talking about committees, here we have a new IMC period report. This is number 28 and the period 29 budget. So Samus here says, hi, all summary below. And here there's the report 28 with some screenshots with numbers. And he says the important point is we need to start the process of moving our Ramses position since it was out of range. This period we started by just removing the liquidity. We now have 3.34 ETH back in the IMC safe and Arbitrum. You can see the updated non-RPL and protocol non-liquidity assets value showing the changes. Green text for increased value, red text for decreased value. It says Val managed the bridging of 300 RPL to the ARB safe for the IMC. The IMC continued spending a budget cut by calculating values with an artificial 0.005 RPL to ETH ratio, followed through with our planned budget cuts to Optimism, Hidden Hand, Mainnet, Cake Pie, and Paladin. See previous post for more info. So we had 11,400 RPL inflows and 11,300 RPL outflows. So budgeting summary is RPL balance changed period 24, so a 2.4% change from 3.4 thousand RPL to 3.5 thousand RPL, and then extrapolated months to zero balance. Period 28 shows since we have now balanced budget, slight surplus, we can continue to spend at this rate indefinitely. And then there's some information about budget 29, and it says plan to finish our Ramses position this month and back into range. Swap the 3.34 ETH into our ETH and position it back to Ramses, and you can see the expected non-RPL and proof of protocol non-liquidity assets value showing the changes. Green text for increased value, red for decreased value. And it says continue spending the budget cut by calculating our 0.005 ratio. Inflows and outflows should be identical to period 28, leaving us with the same balanced budget with a slight surplus. And then there's some information here about the 1% price impact and how that's looking. And it says liquidity steadily recovered to previous levels after the large drop from a whale leaving the pancake swap last period. Overall, things look good. So there's around a 7,000 RETH. You can basically swap into ETH to move the price 1%, which is pretty good. And there's some resources there as well. So if you're interested in finding out more about the IMC's budget, you're welcome to reply to this message and ask Samus, or coming to the IMC public chat thread and ask your questions there. Okay, next we have an update from NodeSet, and NodeSet have been making new validators, which is exciting, and it's looking like they're growing. And here we have the details working on Rocket Watch as well, which is showing up in events now. So you can start following some of this information about the RPL being staked, about validators being started, and other things like that. So there's actual real activity happening on events, and like you can actually see validators starting, which is incredibly exciting. And things are moving, right? Like things are actually happening, and there's other people as well who are starting validators, which is really exciting as well. So I really do think that this next bi-weekly update that we do should actually show the first period of growth for the protocol's TVL since January of this year. It's been down only since then. So we might get our first green bi-weekly update, which would be wonderful to see. And I think it's the sign of the tides shifting and turning. But if you catch up to the bottom, it shows that we are now with a deposit pool of 37,000. Of course, that went above 40,000 when 1KX were exiting. They've still got validators to exit, so it might still go back up again. But the trend now is looking really good. So I'm really excited about seeing that. And here we got some more information about NodeSet. So you can see that they have now got 62 staking validators, so that number is slowly going up, and they're staking more and more RPL as well, which is amazing to see. And yeah, they're moving on up. So this is really awesome to see. I'm really hoping that more and more their validators keep coming in line in these next few weeks, and eventually, I want them to be the biggest node operator on Rocket Pool by far. I think that's where we want them to be, because the way it acts, like all of those different node operators, those sub nodes, they all report to one node address on Rocket Pool, which is this address that you're seeing on Rocket Scan right now, and that will just eventually become the biggest node on the protocol, and it's like slowly climbing up the ranks. So as you can see, like right now we have Thomas and Marcos and previously 1KX. Those were some of our biggest nodes. So Thomas has a validator with a node with 849 mini pools in it. Hopefully Saturn will be bigger than that soon. That'll be really exciting. Okay, I'm going to finish today's episode with this blog post from Max Resnick. Like, you might have heard Max Resnick's name a few times recently. He is one of the people who is saying that Ethereum should make a lot of changes to how it works in order to compete with other layer ones that are max performant on their layer ones, instead of just developing the L2s. And the argument that he makes is that we should change the way the EIPs work and set up minimum validator requirements. So here he says that there's it says last execution, all core devs, a blob target increase, as well as some other auxiliary proposals were moved to CFI status. And then says there's been pushback and call from solo stakers against these proposals. In particular, solo stakers were worried about the additional bandwidth. And then Max says that this is my response basically to the pushback, and says, first, how much bandwidth does it take to reliably propose a block? The proposer needs a block to reach at least 40% network before 4 seconds in the slot. The block propagates through the peer-to-peer network, but before this can happen, the proposer needs to seed it. It sends a full block to a subnet of n of its peers. Sending it to more high-quality peers improves the probability that a block will reach sufficient portion of the network before timeout. So as I understand it, the default client implementation is a very naive optimization for latency and reliability with peers. In other words, there may be ways that nodes can optimize their block propagation speed without using additional bandwidth. And then he says that there's a proposal to decrease the minimum stake. That's what Vitalik said as well. So there was, here's the key information. So he said, while we don't need nearly that much bandwidth today, the goal is the roadmap to get to 64 blobs per block. So even with optimizations coming with PeerDAS, we would have room for significant scaling in the future. He says 50 MB upload speed on consumer internet is broadly available in North and South America, Asia and Europe. Africa also has substantial, albeit much less comprehensive, access to this speed range. This speed range will therefore give the network substantial headroom to grow, while still allowing for desirable levels of geographic decentralization. So this 50 MB, people were wondering if it was megabytes per second or megabits per second, because of course there's a factor of 8 difference involved in there. And if it's the higher one, then most fiber home connections won't even support that. So there's still a lot of discussion kind of going on. And there was, of course, pushback to the pushback from solo stakers. But if you're interested in following this discussion, you can, here, look, the reply was, is this supposed to be megabytes or megabits? So, and then here, like a person said, I could appreciate the data, but worth mentioning that I live in Las Vegas, in a modern area of the city, and only have access to 100 download and 5 upload. It says your chart doesn't show that reality. So he says, sorry, but that's a Las Vegas problem, not an Ethereum problem. And he says, very much support of establishing some design minimum specification. and megabits. And he says, sorry, edited for clarity. And then it's Micah here says, if you want to set a bandwidth requirement, I recommend setting it to Starlink upload speeds because that's available almost anywhere in the world. It's priced for consumers and speed availability is uniform across the planet. Of course, people can use whatever ISP they choose, but I think Starlink gives a very nice baseline where a few people can reasonably say, I don't have access to the internet that fast. And the ones who can say only do so because their government is oppressive and doesn't allow it, not because of infrastructure hasn't reached them yet. And then there's a whole lot of other points back and forth. This has been a very active discussion, by ETH research standards. If you want to get involved in the discussion, you can just log in and leave a message. On that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.